example, serial unalivers or someone that unalives someone, and they, like they go to prison, and then like 10, 20 years down the line, they convert to Christianity, and now like they're hardcore Christians, but like they unalive somebody. What do you think about those people?
Well, that's a great thing, right? I mean, I don't believe in deathbed confessions, and if there is a heaven, I don't think God's just going to let him in because he converted to any particular religion.
Right.
Um, but
But
I,
like,
it's not for him. I mean, it's for the example that he's going to set by telling everyone, you know what? I wasted 30 years of my life, and it wasn't until I found some sort of biblical path that I'm better now. Don't do what I did. This is why I'm happy that someone like that would become Christian, Muslim, or Jewish, right? Even though he may do it on the last day of his life, because other people, right, and not that young people listen to good advice, anyways, right, but they'll be like, you know what? It's true. I may be going down that path. I mean, it's for example, look, I was very lucky that I became religious quite young. It was 18 when I became religious. So there was only so much damage I could do in the world. Well, yeah, I mean, I have tattoos and I have like, I don't know, like a criminal record when I was like under 18. Uh,
Phoenix.
but there's people that if they become religious at the age of 40, 50, can you imagine the damage they've done in this world? The people they've
Yeah.
hurt? And everybody hurts
Right.
people, but clearly if someone tries to adhere to some biblical standard, to some ethical code, they're going to hurt less people. I mean, I
Right.
think that's the rule.
Hmm, you're right. But like,
So, yeah.
and what do you think? Like, what would be the best outcome for these people? Because I mean, they keep these people in jail for decades. After they've committed like a heinous crime, like unaliving an innocent life. Sure, it's a great example to set by basically being unalived yourself after you've committed a crime. Would you not think that's a proper response to?
Yeah, I'm a big
to
fan of capital punishment.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I know some people would say, just God accepts everyone.
not religious people. Well, I mean the hippies. I mean those are religious leftists. Anyone who reads the Bible straight through, I mean, knows that he who sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed.
Right.
It's
But then,
yeah.
like, you have people praising, like, oh, this person, he unalived like 15 children, but now he's one of us. It's like, is that really the thing to say?
So
It gives an idea. For example, like Schmittler, atheists will say, oh, Schmittler now is in heaven because he could have asked for forgiveness. What a just God, basically. You know what I mean? And Christians give that idea, unfortunately.
are you Jewish? I'm curious.
No, no, I'm going to convert.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, surprisingly, Jews believe in this also, by the way. And it's silly. The idea of deathbed confessions. They'll take it further. There's the prevalent opinion in the Jewish world of what happens after you die if you're Jewish is that no matter how bad you are, no matter who you are, the son of Sam, whoever, who actually was Jewish, um, you're going to make it to the world to come. Right? I mean, it's almost like once saved, always saved, but it has nothing to do with accepting Jesus. It just happens to be by coincidence. Like you're born of a Jewish mother, you can't get out of heaven. Right? I mean, you want to go to hell, right? I mean, that's where the good music's playing and all your friends are at. You're going to be stuck in heaven. That is the prevalent Jewish opinion, which is worse than a deathbed confession because at least a deathbed confession involves some sort of lip service. You have to say something. However, the idea of someone doing teshuva in the last minute also counts because it's not universally accepted. Not really. Maybe by 98% of people who know something about Judaism will say that statement where it says Kol Yisrael yesh lachem chelek l'olam haba, that every Jew has a place in the world to come. That's not really what it means, right? Because I mean, the next page says, and these are the ones that don't. So the notion of doing tshuva at the last minute also applies to get you into heaven, according to Jewish, whatever. I take a different approach to this. I think that God never really forgives your sins. He may look away, especially if your sin is one that harms somebody else. So the idea that God could in some way forgive you for what you did to somebody else would be unethical and unjust for God to do. I mean, God could in some way say, okay, the damage is done. I mean, you're not able to pay this person back. Sometimes you harm people, they're no longer with us, and you can't repay them. Um, I think that he may look away, but the idea of someone who said, I've unalived all these people. I've hurt so many families, but now Jesus has forgiven me for my sins. What does that even mean?
Right, right,
He
exactly.
forgave you for what you did to someone else? I mean, don't you care about the victims? Don't you care about justice? So I always thought that idea was unethical, even though it slightly appears in the book of Isaiah that although your sins are red like scarlet, I will make them white as snow. I think that's poetry.
Right.
It's meant to
Yeah,
be
of course.
poetic.
Of
I mean,
course.
the idea that you harm someone and God is going to make it like it never happened just because you said you were sorry to God, not to the person you harmed, is not
Right,
a
right.
core principle. Is not
Yeah.
a
They ask, yeah, a lot of Christians ask Jesus for forgiveness and then completely ignore the person that they harmed,
yeah, it's
and then
like
they
I'm here.
believe, yeah, and it's like that's not how it works. I
I'm
mean,
right here, but I spoke to Jesus. Yeah, but I mean, I may be Hispanic, but my name's not Jesus. Anyways.
but yeah, so like that's, and then you get, well, I mean, with that question that I had asked you, then it gets even more. I guess you could say more. You can narrow it down even. I mean, you can, sorry, you can broaden the theme to like, what about people like, this is not pointing at anybody, but like people that have basically knowingly, I don't know if the word aborted is a banned word on TikTok, but for example, like aborting, knowing that it's a life, like stuff like that. Like, what about those people? And they just continue to do it, um, or yeah, like for
You know,
example,
we ultimately don't know. I mean, everything I just said was my opinion, although there's some rabbis who don't function like that. I think most rabbis, if you ask them a question, even though there's 20 different opinions on Judaism, they'll tell you that their most favorite one, like it's the only one, and it speaks for the Torah. Um,
right,
I think that's misrepresenting God, like misrepresenting Judaism. We don't know how justice is meted out in the next world, or in this world, really. There's a lot of crappy people who get away with a lot. So, is there justice in this world? This is why I believe in an afterlife,
I,
because there's a lot of crappy people who get away with a lot on like in this world. So there's got to be more. But
right,
I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know how it works. Right? I
yeah.
mean, you're like an abortion doctor, and I mean suddenly, like what? You become a Jehovah's Witness, and now everything's forgiven. Like I don't understand. I don't know how a good God would in some way forgive that. I know how a preacher could incentivize religion. I mean, get all your sins washed away. Come to that, 2 for 1. I mean, how about the people they harmed?
What about like, let's say that they become a Jew. Let's step it up even more. Let's say they become a Jew instead of a Christian, and like, let's say that they have done what I've mentioned. What then?
I mean, same thing. We don't know.
Because it's unaliving. It's unaliving
I
people.
don't know. So I think the most reasonable approach that should be taken by someone who lived such a life is to live the rest of his life in service to people you may have harmed, or people, I mean, similar to the people you may have harmed. Like, yeah, I mean, some mobsters who, after they became Christian, they devoted their life to prison ministry and to helping kids not follow in their path. Why? Because they feel guilty. This idea that only because Christianity tells you that Jesus forgave you of your sins, that you forgave yourself for your sins is nonsense. You don't forgive yourself. And, it eats you away at it, even though somebody told you Jesus forgave you.